I was just laughing at myself about how much I love talking about him. I just ramble on. My videos must be very boring. But I speak from the heart, and that's the difference. I'm not a theological university dry-boned professor talking about the theological Greek words meaning under certain circumstances. I just say, look, Jesus was love and non-violence. These words here in the Gospels, they're wrong. they're false. These ones are correct. He's love and non-violence. That's all you need to know to understand the Gospels properly. Anyway, I'm Jesus' follower from the original Christian church he established in the world. We're the pacifist Christians. There aren't many of us left now. I'm also one of the very small minority who know that the Jewish religion is a dualistic religion, who totally believes this and teaches this. They worship two different gods. One's a brutal, murdering, filthy war god. They choose to call that war god Yahweh one. Okay. The Romans called the same god Mars, the Greeks called the same god Ares, and the Egyptians called the same filthy, stinking god Sekhmet. So the Jews are worshipping Sekhmet, Mars, Ares, or Yahweh one. It's the same God, different name. The Jews had a God of love. They should have called it by a different name, like the Romans called the God of love and peace Pax. The Greeks called their love and peace God Irene. The Egyptians had another God that was more calming and had another name and another temple. See, they had another temple for those gods because you can't be a child of love and a child of a violent, brutal, stinking murderer at the same time. You're one or the other. As Jesus said, you can't serve two lords at once. You'll either love one and offend the other, or offend one and love the other. Jesus was saying that. You've got to look at Jericho. Their stinking, filthy war god Yahweh sends an angel, apparently, to tell Joshua, go down to Jericho, kill everyone and steal the land and steal all the treasure and bring it back to my temple. I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to empower you to kill and murder and steal. Great, says Joshua. Beauty. Thanks, Yahweh. Come on, lads. Off they go down to Jericho, kill every man, woman and child, take the silver, gold and brass back to the temple of Yahweh, burn the place to the ground, steal all their land. Thank you, Yahweh. Oh, you bless us greatly, stinking, filthy war god. Mars, Sekhmet, Ares, Yahweh one, same God. They all did it. Jews were no different. Get over it. Then they had another God who says this, if a foreigner, like someone from Jericho, is amongst you, treat them as if they're Jewish and love them like a Jew. Love the foreigners from Jericho as if they're Jewish. That's the loving God. That's Pax, Irene. They're the gods of peace and love that the other civilizations, religions had. And the Jews had one too. But they lied, deceiving, deceptive, cunning. They called it by the same name as their filthy war god. And that's where you got the problem with the Jewish religion. Now that's poisoned the Christian religion. Because of the corrupt Christian leaders in the 4th century under Emperor Constantine, they eventually allowed Roman soldiers to be Christians and they can go to war and kill. Well, that meant they changed all Christians to become Jewish Christians. That's when they became hybrids. I'm not a hybrid. I'm not a Jewish Christian and I'll certainly never be a Jew. I'm not going to worship two gods. There's only one loving being who creates the heavenly spiritual world of love because it's only a place of love. So there's only a oneness about it. I have to become at one with love. So that was Jesus' main teachings. You've got a spiritual body, it's going to leave at death, get ready. Become at one with it, but it's only empowered by loving spiritual life force from heaven, not your potatoes and beans and pumpkins. That's just your horses, this body of flesh and bones. It's a body of dirt and earth, so you'll have to eat dirt and breathe in gas and drink the oceans of the water from the oceans, It's an earth body that needs earth nourishment. Your spiritual body needs loving spiritual life force from heaven, which is only a place of love. You've got to become a child of love and non-violence on earth before you die. That's the goal of every Buddhist and every Christian in the world, and it's a universal message, and everyone has a spiritual body, and everyone can do it. But you have to have the characteristics: love, compassion, non-violence, forgiveness, equanimity, generosity, care for those who've fallen down, lift them up, become selfless. If you've got that, doesn't matter whether you're an atheist or a Buddhist or a monk or a Jew or a Christian or a Hindu or whatever you are, it doesn't matter. If you've got those qualities, if that's your character, as Jesus said, you'll know them by their fruits. The children of heaven are known by their fruits. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit. An evil tree cannot bring forth good fruit. You'll know them by their fruits. It's a universal teaching that Jesus and Buddha gave. That's why I get really angry when I hear these Jewish Christians say what the Jews say. Oh, we're the only chosen people of God. What an arrogant statement. And then you got these Jewish Christians going, oh, we're the only chosen people of God now. Only followers of Jesus are going to heaven. See, they've been poisoned by the Jewish arrogance. It's a shocking thing. It's terrible what they've done to Jesus' teachings, the Jewish Christians. So I'm here to try to correct that. That's my job as a gardener. Remove disease from things and weeds from the garden. Well, all the Jewish Christian overlays in the Christian religion are poisoning, just like poison weeds. And I try to pull them out and rip them out. That's why I say rip out the book of Revelation, the most stinking, slanderous book in the world about Jesus. You can't get a more stinking, slanderous book about Jesus in the world. And the Jewish Christians have got it sitting at the end of the Gospels. There's the book, Gospels of Jesus Unplugged, published just this month, March 2026, available around the world. You'll find my translation of the Gospels much cleaner. It's all about love and non-violence, about becoming spiritual. As Jesus said, they're all his words. I just make commentaries to explain it clearly so you can understand more clearly. There are no poisonous, misleading Jewish overlays in it at all. And I think you'll find it quite interesting if you read it, if you're a Jewish Christian in particular. And all the main sort of parables are there, of course, and everything else that Jesus taught. But you'll find it much cleaner, much more pure dialogue of the loving spiritual creator in heaven and Jesus himself, who was an awakened spiritual child. And it'll get rid of any confusions you got about this stinking, filthy war god of the Jews, Yahweh, that throws people into hell. That's not our God. If you're a Christian, that's not our God. That's the Jew God. That's their war god. They got a God of love too, but even that God's limited compared to this divine, loving, spiritual life force that Jesus and Buddha were at one with. So that's the book, and we're reading from John. Where are we now? There's the contents, and so we're up to John, so towards the end of the book. So I'm just putting it on so you can have a look at it, and you may find it interesting. You might find it challenging. You might say, I've always thought that, but I never heard anyone talk about it. When there's a chance to go, oh, that guy's talking about it. And here we go. Satan's children. Now, this is literally where Jesus says to the Jews, you are worshipping a satanic war god. He literally tells them you're worshipping two gods. And one of them's a war god, and he's a murderer, and that's what you do. John 8:39-47. They said to him, Abraham is our father. Jesus said, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham, but you seek to kill me, a man who has told you the truth, which I heard from our loving Creator. Why, Abraham did not do this, and you do the deeds of your father. Then they said to him, we were not born illegitimately. We have one Father, Yahweh. Jesus said to them, if the loving spiritual Creator were your God, you would love me, for I proceeded forth and came from the loving spiritual Creator. I have not come from myself, but she sent me. Why do you not understand the words I teach? Because you are not able to listen to my words and perceive their meaning. You are of your father, the devil, and the desires and lusts of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own self, for he is a liar and the father of it. So because I speak the truth, you do not believe me. Which of you convicts me of any sin? If I tell the truth, why do you not believe me? He who is a spiritual child of the loving spiritual Creator understands the loving Creator's words. Therefore, you do not understand because you are not spiritual children of the loving spiritual Creator. Jesus is telling them straight out, flat out in their face, you are worshipping a satanic war god. And he was a murderer and a liar, as all war gods are liars. They're not living out of their true spiritual identity of love and non-violence, so they're liars. And they're murderers. That's what war gods and satanic children do. That's what the armies, the stinking, filthy armies of the world do. Train other children to kill and murder children. Unbelievable. Author. Jesus knew that Jews were worshipping two different godheads, but were deceiving themselves by giving them the same name, Yahweh. Yahweh had one body but two heads. a brutal, murdering, lying, thieving, revengeful Godhead of war called Yahweh One, because that's all you can do with this rubbish, this deception, this lie, and another loving, forgiving, peaceful Godhead of love called Yahweh Two. They should have called it by another name. They're dishonest. Opposing Godheads and forces of darkness and light in the one temple dedicated to their two-headed God, Yahweh. Now that's just a fact. A 10-year-old could tell you that. All war gods are satanic by their very nature, and all followers become demonic beasts of the flesh, killing and stealing from others. Jesus tells the Jews the satanic god of war has a hold on them, and they are following him and his evil ways. This is making it impossible for them to understand his spiritual teachings and way of love and non-violence that comes forth from the one true, loving, spiritual creator. It's that simple. Before Abraham, I am, was. John 8:48. To 59. The Jews answered him, "Are we not right in saying that you are a Samaritan and have a demon?" Jesus answered, "I do not have a demon, but I honor my loving spiritual creator while you dishonor me. And I do not seek my own glory. There is one who seeks it and will judge it. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps and observes the words of my teachings, he shall never see death." Then the Jews said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon in you. Abraham died, as did the prophets, and you say, if anyone understands and observes the words I teach, they will never taste death. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who is dead, and the prophets also dead? Who do you make yourself out to be?" Jesus answered, "If I glorify myself, my honor is nothing. It is our loving spiritual creator who makes me glorious, whom you say is your God. But you do not even know her. But I know her. And if I say I do not know her, I shall be a liar like you. But I do know the loving spiritual creator, and I keep and observe her word. Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad." The Jews then said to him, "You are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "Truly I say to you, before Abraham, our loving spiritual creator was in existence, and I am her spiritual child." They took up stones to stone him to death, but Jesus hid, and going through the midst of them, he went out of the temple. Author. Again, Jesus tells them they must listen to and follow his words and spiritual way of love to have eternal life in the heavenly spiritual world of the one true God, our loving spiritual creator. He tells them they do not know the one true loving creator, but he does, and she existed well before Abraham, and he is an awakened spiritual child of hers. The Jews wanted to stone him to death for blaspheming their beliefs and their two-headed God Yahweh, typical of all followers of a brutal, domineering, revengeful, murdering war god. So Jesus he's got a tough job here. I mean, it's really tough. He's trying to say, look, heaven's eternal, the spiritual creator's eternal. I've awakened and become a spiritual child of hers, so I'm connected to the eternal world now. And she was there before Abraham. She was before Abraham. She is now, and she was. And I am a spiritual child of her, and she always was. That's the correct translation. I mean, Jewish Christians twist that and pervert it and say Jesus is God. Before Abraham was, I am. And they say, oh, yeah, Jesus is God. You know? No, Jesus is a child of God, and we are all children of God, and we must become children of light, as Jesus said. The Creator is the Creator, and we are the creation of the Creator. John 10, providing we're spiritual children of love, because the loving Creator can only create loving things. So we have a spiritual body of love to join in with if you want to. It's only offered to you. She doesn't force you to go to heaven. And you can choose to go to hell if you want to join the armies and murder and kill. Or be a gangster or whatever. Life is short. Eternity's a long time. Heaven's the place to be. Jesus the shepherd, John 10:1-10. Jesus said, "Truly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs in another way, he is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings his own sheep out, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. A stranger they will not follow, but they will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers." They did not understand what he was saying. he, he had to talk sort of in parables and such colloquial, rustic sort of ways. So Jesus spoke again, saying, "Truly, truly, I say to you that I am the door of the sheep. And whoever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door and the way, and if anyone enters by following my way, he will be saved and go in and out and find heavenly pasture. The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come so that they may have spiritual life and have it beyond measure." So the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's the Yahweh One War God to start with, and others like that. Author: Jesus states there have been many false spiritual teachers, but he has the true understanding of how to guide children who follow his spiritual way to the green pastures of the heavenly spiritual world. He can be trusted because his own life as a living example of an awakened spiritual child of our loving Creator on earth is on full display for all to see. He is not like a sneaky thief with a hidden agenda. His love is on display. He just loved everybody in whatever way they needed loving. He would abuse the scribes and Pharisees out of love for them, warning them, they're going to hell sort of thing. That's a loving thing to do that. We have to warn, like, the Israeli army and the Russian army and Putin and that, they're all going to hell. We have to warn them, you're going to hell. You're going to really be sorry. We have to tell them the truth about what they're doing. Otherwise, if no one tells them they're satanic children, then, everyone's quiet. No one says anything. That's no good. So Jesus is openly bringing love to everyone. He's not hiding. He's not only giving love to some, not to others. He's very open. He loves the prostitutes. He loves the lepers. He touches the leper to heal the leper. Now that's love. He loves everyone. He's open. Heaven's love is love. It's open and it's free. You don't hide it or make money out of it or anything. Unless you're corrupt. The good shepherd gives his life. John 10:11-21. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. But a hired servant who is not the shepherd, one whose sheep are not his own, sees the wolf coming and abandons the sheep and flees. And the wolf takes hold of the sheep and scatters them abroad. The hired servant flees because he is just a servant and does not care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep and they know me. Just as the loving spiritual creator knows me, and I know the loving creator. And I lay down my life for the sheep. And I have other sheep which are not from this fold. Them also I must bring, and they will also hear my voice. And there shall be one flock and one shepherd. Therefore my loving spiritual creator loves me, because I lay down my physical life, so that I may take up my life again in spirit. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own free will. I have authority to lay my flesh down and authority to take my spiritual life up. This direction I have received from my loving spiritual creator. A division rose among the Jews because of these sayings. Many said, he has a demon and is mad. Why do you listen to him? While others said, these are not the words of one who has a demon. Can a demon heal a blind man? Author: Jesus dedicates his whole life to being a spiritual teacher once he retired from being a carpenter or a builder. So he's a teacher, a shepherd, and a guide for all those who hear his words and want to follow his spiritual way. As an awakened spiritual child of our loving spiritual creator, he knows her as she knows him. His spiritual way is open to all children in the world. He never abandons anyone and is willing to even sacrifice his body of flesh to show his followers we all have another spiritual body that cannot die. Some Jews rejected him outright, while others were more accepting of him. As Jesus said, my coming will cause division. So we've got, again, John's so cram-packed with so many beautiful things. The Good Shepherd analogy is just perfect, isn't it? I mean, when you're a bit of a dumb sheep, you're not sure what life's about, Jesus comes along and says, oh look, I'll help you understand things. There's another world, it's another dimension, it's spiritual, it's heaven. No one can hurt you there, you don't die there, it's eternal, everyone there's full of love, and it's beautiful beyond anything you can imagine here in the world of dirt, the dualistic world of evil and good, where death and suffering, everyone will suffer. And then I'll explain to you how you get there. So he explains, and he gives you the instructions. You've got another body. It's going to leave when your body of flesh dies. But the way you bring it alive is you need heaven's love to come into you, and then you flow it out to other children through your physical body. Your physical body becomes the secondary identity. Your spiritual body, as it comes alive, becomes your primary. Its mind is only love, whereas your physical body can be dualistic, love, hate, kill, save. You got to get out of that and move into just the singularity of your spiritual mind, and then your physical body and your spiritual body will be at one in purpose to bring heaven's love through your spiritual body, manifesting it through your physical body to everyone you meet. The two become one in purpose. And he's the Good Shepherd who shows us how to become like him. See, the idea is sheep should become shepherds. He's not a sacrificial lamb, that's all rubbish. He's a shepherd. He's a great spiritual teacher like Buddha. Buddha wasn't a sacrificial lamb, neither is Jesus. That's a Jewish overlay. If you want to stop sinning, if you want your sins cleansed, Jesus can die on the cross 1,000 times. But if you keep sinning, his blood spilling out won't stop you. You have to stop yourself sinning with help from his guidance about sinning, the consequences of sinning. He'll warn you about that. It's in his instructions, it's in his words. Be careful, you're heading into serious suffering. Don't go there. His words help stop you sinning. He then says, become a spiritual child. You'll be filled with love and forgiveness. Don't hate anymore, forgive them. You follow his words, you follow his instructions. As he said, he who is thirsty, come to me and drink. He who drinks from my mouth, he said, will become like me. That's in Thomas. Beautiful saying. Perfect. So he's the Good Shepherd. He only leads us to heaven. He doesn't lead us to hell like the Yahweh war god, or the war god of the Romans, Mars, or Sekhmet, the Egyptian war god. They all lead you to hell because you become a satanic murdering bastard. Steals and murders, and you praise your war god Yahweh one, or Mars, or Sekhmet. But the children who follow the loving God in any religion in the world, and only the loving God. So the Jewish children only recognize Yahweh too, the loving God. Those Jews in the world are the good Jews. They follow the good prophets, and they ignore the Yahweh stinking filthy war god Yahweh. They want nothing to do with those people, those Jewish people. And they are in the world, of course. They've spoken out against what the Zionist Jews are doing. And good on them. And because they're children filled with love, and they love the Palestinians. So they're children of God, you see. But not the Yahweh God, because there's two Yahwehs. They're children who are gravitating towards the loving spiritual creator of the heavenly spiritual world, and anyone can go there. Jew, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, atheist, whatever you are, but you must have the characteristics of a child of love. You'll know them by their fruits. A good tree can't produce evil, an evil tree can't produce good. Jesus says you'll know the spiritual children of heaven when you meet them by who they are. If you meet someone who's kind and loving, generous and honest, you'll know, gee, that person's really lovely. They're on their way to heaven. You'll meet someone else who's cunning, deceiving, rip you off, rob you, perhaps even kill you, murder you. They're not a child of heaven. They're Satan's children. That's pretty obvious. My sheep know me. John 10:22. It was the Feast of Dedication in Jerusalem, and it was winter, and Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. Then the Jews surrounded him and said to him, "How long will you keep us in doubt? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly." Jesus answered, "I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in the name of our loving spiritual Creator, they bear witness of me. But you do not believe because you are not of my sheep, as I said to you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow in my way. And this gives them eternal spiritual life, and they shall never perish. Neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand. My loving Creator, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my loving Creator's hand. I and my loving Creator are as one in purpose. And the Jews took up stones again to stone him to death for what he said. So you can't be at one with Yahweh, you know. The Jews kill you for that. You know? Whereas Jesus said, yeah, I'm at one with my loving Creator. I'm the child of my loving Creator. I only do what she shows me. I'm her child. I'm her child. I'm at one with her. Oh, kill him. Kill him. Murder, kill him. Author. Jesus again tells them that anyone who follows his spiritual way to enlightenment will have eternal life. And the miraculous spiritual works he performs should be enough for them to believe he is from our loving Creator. I mean, Jesus could miraculously heal for one reason. He knew the source of heaven and the creative life force of the spiritual universe and spiritual world of heaven in the spiritual universe, which is not the material world or the material universe. You know, there's no explosions and gas explosions and exploding suns that can incinerate you. There's none of that in the spiritual universe. The spiritual universe and the spiritual world, Jesus knew that it's only love, and the only way to get there is to become at one with love. And that's why he could heal children's sick physical bodies of dirt, because dirt and clay is just like dirt. And the energies in our physical bodies are really basic, gross sort of chemical interreactions and chemical nervous electric actions, electricity and things. It's a really basic, clayey, you know, substancey, mushy, gushy stuff. I mean, if you slice yourself open and get your intestines to fall out, you'll vomit, you know, at what you see inside yourself, you know. You'll just be shocked. So we're you know, beauty skin deep sort of thing sometimes. But the thing is, Jesus understood all these aspects, and he could heal your body of dirt by the loving life force in his spiritual body, which had become fully awakened, and his eye, the eye of his spiritual mind, saw everyone through the eye of love. He wanted everyone to come to heaven. The Pharisees, the scribes, you know, the satanic children, the sinners, the prostitutes, the lepers. He wanted everyone to come to heaven. So you have to, the only way you can get people to heaven is to love them to heaven. But part of the loving is you may have to say to them, hey, you're satanic, you're going to hell, stop doing that. Well, that's love. Others you have to be just gentle and comforting, or heal their bodies. He could do it because he was the one with pure love. A pure loving spiritual creator can't hurt you. A pure loving life force coming from heaven going into someone's physical body, it can only do one thing: heal, give life. That's all he could do. He couldn't use it to hurt anyone because it wouldn't work anyway. Because she, the loving spiritual creator of the spiritual dimension and spiritual world of love, is only love and true life. So when Jesus passed the spiritual life force from his spiritual body out of his body into the child's physical body, the lepers, the cripple, the blind, the optic nerves, the cerebral palsy, the nerve damage, whatever was wrong with them, the loving spiritual creator in the heavenly spiritual world simply altered the physical body. And it happened so quickly because what could have taken years of slow recovery here on earth, heaven's eternal, there's no time in heaven. So the loving spiritual creator that Jesus is at one with and is a child of, once he passed her loving life force into the other child's physical body, she was completely connected to that child's body, even more than ever, because they have a spiritual body as well anyway. But he filled their physical body with his loving life force from his spiritual body, and the loving creator just concertinaed time down into like 10 years into a minute, because there's no time in heaven. So it just became an instantaneous thought. What takes years here just became, whoa, it just happened miraculously, because there's no time in heaven. So healing takes place instantly here, where we have time, but there isn't any time in heaven. So when the spiritual creator thinks be healed, it just goes whoop. Down here it just goes whoop. 10 years gets collapsed into 10 seconds because heaven's timeless. So a thought in heaven happens. This is the world of time, but it's concertinaed once the heavenly creator wants to heal your body for you, or Jesus could pass the loving life force into your body and ask it be healed. And she did the works. He said it's the loving spiritual creator in me that does the work, the loving spiritual life force in me that does the works I do. Of myself I can do nothing. So he understood that. That's why he could heal. I wish we could all do it. But you see, if you're worshipping the Jewish two-headed God, you won't be able to do it. Certainly not very well anyway. Because one of those gods is a war of death and murder. They don't like healing anyone, they kill. Only the loving spiritual creator can give you the loving spiritual force in your spiritual body to pass through into a child who's sick, to heal them. We should be able to do it. I've been trying to do it, but I'm not very good at it. I'm trying though, because I understand that's obviously how he was able to do it. By connecting, by cleaning himself first, understanding that heaven's a place of love. He became an awakened child of love and fully. And so he was then completely empowered. His spiritual body sort of was activated. Boom, boom. It was humming away, it was alive. He had that butterfly body alive as well as the caterpillar at the same time. And it's the butterfly body that does the healing. The life force is in the butterfly body, passing through the caterpillar's body to the child. And the butterfly has to be alive to connect to heaven. Butterflies fly through the air. The Greek word for air, breath, wind, means spirit. It's the same word. Spirit, air, breath, wind, butterfly body, flying through the air. Spiritual body, air, breath, spirit. That's beautiful. We are all children of our loving Creator. John 10:32. But Jesus said to them, many good works I have shown you from my loving Creator. For which of those works do you stone me? The Jews answered him, saying, we do not stone you for the good works, but for your blasphemy, because you, being just a man, claim to be at one with God the Creator. Jesus answered, is it not written in your law, I said you are gods? If they were called gods to whom the word of your God came, why do you say of me, whom the loving Creator has purified in spirit and sent into the world, you are blaspheming, just because I said, I am a child of the loving spiritual Creator? If I do not do the works of my loving Creator, do not believe me. But if I do, though you may not believe me, believe the works. Then you will come to know and believe that the loving spiritual life force of our loving spiritual Creator is in me, and I am in her loving spiritual life force. The Jews tried to seize him, but he escaped out of their hands. So once again, they don't get it. And they think he's blaspheming their two-headed God Yahweh, because Yahweh is the two-headed God and no one's allowed to be like Yahweh and this stuff. Whereas Jesus is saying, no, the loving spiritual life force of God is in me, and I'm in the loving spiritual life force of God and living out of it. I am a child of God, empowered by the loving spiritual life force of God. Loving spiritual creator is the term I like to use. Author, Jesus tries to point out to the Jews that in their tradition, other men in the past have been called gods appointed by their God Yahweh, part of their spiritual traditional history stuff. So why are they so shocked that he is saying that he is also appointed by the true loving spiritual creator as her child to perform spiritual works and teach? And it's the same sort of thing, He's sort of saying, look, I'm performing all these miracles. Surely you understand that I have to be sort of with somebody pretty special to be able to do that. Some other superior life force being. Surely you realize that, don't you? If you don't like me, at least look at the works I'm doing. They're all good and they're all healing and reducing suffering and miraculous. We can't do that here out of our bodies of dirt, can we? This is coming from another source and it's all loving. You must at least acknowledge that. If you do, you'll understand I'm from a heavenly world of love and a spiritual being of love. I'm a child of hers. But of course, you know how it is. We don't believe it. But the Jews do not know about the one true loving creator and that every single child on earth is potentially her child, whether they know it or not. So they have no idea about the proper relationship we can all have with her as her spiritual children on earth, as Jesus taught. He was speaking truthfully about his relationship with her as he had become an awakened spiritual child himself. And that's the beautiful thing about Jesus. I mean, he had a really tough job. He's talking to Jews who worship a two-headed God, a perverted God, a brutal, violent God, war god of Mars, Sekhmet, Ares, Yahweh One, stinking, filthy, genocidal, murdering God. You don't do what it says, it'll kill you. It's a war god. That's all they ever do. They stink. Then they got this other God of love, Yahweh too, because they were dishonest and wouldn't call it amore, or whatever the Hebrew word is for love. They should have built another temple, two different gods, but they were cunning. They thought they could get away with calling their war god and the God of love by the same name, so they could kill and love at the same time and have no conscience about it. That's what it's all about. Kill your conscience. A God of love you can't kill if you worship that God, but if you stick it, dovetail it into the God of filthy war and murder, you can do it. So it's a really, really devious religion. Whereas Jesus is only love. That is monotheistic. Jesus is monotheistic. The Jewish religion is not. It's dualistic. The problem we got is that the Jewish religion is poisoning the Christian religion, Jesus and the loving Creator. It's poisoning it, and it's time the Christian and Jewish churches had the guts to stand up and stop it. Pope Leo has to have the guts to get out on the balcony of the Vatican, rip out the book of Revelation and tear it up and say, this book has been slandering our beautiful teacher Jesus for 1700 years or more. I tell you all Catholics to rip it out and burn it. It's evil. If he doesn't do that, he hasn't got the guts, and he's not a follower of Jesus Christ. He's not. He might be doing a lot of good things in other areas, but he's slandering Jesus by allowing that stinking bit of filth to be in Catholic churches. And the same for all the other religions who are Jewish and Christian. They got the book of Daniel called the book of Revelation, and they got that in with Jesus' beautiful teachings of love and non-violence. It's a disgusting disgrace. That's all I can say. I'm a Christian. I'm not a Jewish Christian, and I never will be. Thank heavens. And so I politely advise them. You're poisoning, you're slandering Jesus, you're poisoning his teachings, you're leading children astray. But you've got Jesus there, so some of you are going to be beautiful and go to heaven. But not because of the bloody Jewish religion or the bloody book of Revelation. It'll be because you're the ones who just look at Jesus. You're the ones involved in the charity works. You see God as love, and you ignore the Jewish Yahweh stinking filthy war god and the stinking book of Revelation, and those children get to heaven even though they're in a Jewish Christian church who try to teach children to worship the two-headed God of the Jews instead of the true one loving God. They're perverting who God is. They're perverting who God is. But Jesus is there, so therefore the one loving Creator is there along with the two-headed God of the Jews. So you've got the two-headed God of the Jews, Jesus, who's a child of the only one loving Creator, and the one loving Creator who's there through Jesus, but they teach you to worship the two-headed God of the Jews as God. Now that's perversion. That's a perverted thing to do. They shouldn't do that. Oh well. Love your way to heaven or hate your way to hell. As I say, I'm just a follower of Jesus of Nazareth, a pacifist follower from the original church he founded on earth 2,000 years ago. I'm one of his early followers. I'm here to help Jewish Christians come away from the Jewish religion, rip out the book of Revelation and burn it, only look at the words of Jesus. I also suggest you study Buddha's teachings on how to meditate and clean your mind, which is one of the most important things Jesus said to do, to clean the inside of the cup out. Otherwise you can't become full of light. So Jesus and Buddha taught the exact same thing regarding how you become spiritual. But then Jesus had this beautiful connection to sort of heavenly world where this loving life force can flow into you and flow out to others. Buddha didn't talk in that way, but he was 400 years before Jesus, different culture. But they both had the clear light mind experience of love. They were both pacifists. They both said the main problem is the dirt in your own mind, or the beam in your own eye, as Jesus would say, before you remove the speck from your brothers. They both understood the problem. They talked about it in different ways, but the result's the same. You become a spiritual child of love and peace on earth, and you can't hurt anyone anymore, when your body of flesh dies, you'll go to nirvana, to heaven, the heavenly nirvana world. Love your way to heaven or hate your way to hell? The choice is yours. Please make the right one now and become a child of love. I don't want anyone going to hell.